What's up folks, I'm Dev and welcome back to dev.arcade. So, to start this off, this was going to be a part of my first impressions video, but not only did it end up being a little bit too long, I also think it's good that this has its own video to focus on the topic, as I do think it's important. So, let's address the elephant in the room.
Let's talk about it. Talk about it.
As most of you will be aware, Wayfinder has had a bit of a rocky launch. I'd first like to give a quick TLDR for anyone who doesn't know what's happened. Initially, the game was set to launch on the 15th of August, but it was unfortunately delayed for 2 days. The information from the devs was that they were ready to go, but were informed of an issue 1 hour before the game was supposed to go live, and they made the decision to delay it to ensure that the problem was fixed. Without being able to go into specifics, they did confirm it was a third-party issue, and that the actual game was in fact working. They were able to log in and play on the now live servers, and had even run a day 1 patch. Then came the 17th and the game launched. Unfortunately, nobody could get past the login screen. The login and queue system that they'd put in place to help mitigate the sheer volume of people who had purchased early access was working when they tested it, but then completely died when roughly 25,000 people all tried to spam log in at the same time. This meant that it was basically pot luck if when you pressed the login button there was space in the servers, or you would get a max player reached error message which caused people to spam it even more. They then spent the next 2 days working to get a functioning queue in place and steadily increase the server capacity so that more and more people can play, but as you can probably guess, this has had the community in an uproar. While it is understandable that people are frustrated, regardless of if they've paid $20 or $200, being frustrated with something doesn't give anyone the right to act the way some of the people have in the Discord. Personally, I've just been keeping out of it on the Discord, and before they implemented the new queue, I would just load up the game every hour or so to try and log in. If not, go and do something else. In doing that, I've managed to get in play for 2 to 3 hours multiple times for a total of around 10 hours play time in the last 48 hours. So that's not too bad really. Once the queue was implemented, I've waited 2 hours, then 2.5 hours, and then the last 2 times I've tried to log in, I've only waited 20 to 30 minutes in the queue. Once in the game, everything runs like butter, and personally, I think the combat feels responsive, snappy, and satisfying. However, with the large number of people who have paid for early access that have been completely unable to play, the overall opinion and perception of the game has tanked, with it going from one of the top 3 purchased games on Steam before release to it now having a mostly negative review average, with only 31% of the 7,500 reviews actually being positive. Out of all of those reviews, I could only find 1 that was an actual critique of the game. Every other review is essentially saying, I can't recommend a game I can't play. But those aren't recommendation posts. It's a review, and in my opinion, you shouldn't be able to review a game that you haven't played, regardless if you've paid money for it. You can always get a refund. It's like saying I wouldn't recommend going to see the new Dune movie because I've paid for a ticket. It said the movie would start on this specific day and this specific time, but there was a violent car accident at the front doors, so I couldn't go in the theater. They did refund my ticket and said I could come back in a few days once the accident had cleared up, but no, I'm going to go and rate the movie 0 out of 10 on Rotten Tomatoes and tell people to boycott it. But it's actually kind of worse than that, because this isn't even the official release of the game, so there was 100% going to be bugs and issues. They just obviously didn't expect the game-breaking issue of the entire login and queue system going down. There are 1 or 2 complaints about the store prices being predatory, which I do completely understand, as they essentially had items that cost 50 rune silver more than the amount of rune silver that you can purchase in the packs, forcing you to buy larger packs and have leftover currency. However, Airship have already addressed these concerns and are reducing the prices to match the pack amounts. I do have 1 or 2 of my own concerns about the cash shop and reward tower, but I'll be covering those in a separate video which you can find in the description about whether I think the game is pay to win or not. Now, I'm not saying this is a good launch by any stretch, and I'm not defending any of their microtransaction choices, but neither of them are going to affect my enjoyment of the game. It's not a PvP game, and the PvE isn't set up in any way where I can't just enjoy my own progression throughout the game, unlocking new weapons, wayfinders, accessories, echoes, and defeating increasingly harder dungeons. When it comes to stability and queue times, there have been much worse full release launches, never mind early access launches, and while that shouldn't be a standard to be expected, any live service game that is in development, you should really be ready for it to have a game-breaking bug at any time that the developers would need to work to fix in real time. And to reiterate, I've played the game, it runs better than okay. So once the servers are stable and have the capacity for the size of the player base, there will be almost nothing to complain about. As they're increasing the capacity, they're pushing the servers, and with it also being early access, there is still bugs. So there are occasions where you may crash and get kicked from the game or even the queue, and then be forced to go to the back of the queue again. I really do think that they can fix this fairly easily just by having some kind of queue priority for 5 to 10 minutes if you crash or get kicked. There are also 1 or 2 issues with people not receiving their Founders Pack rewards, but once again, they are quickly working to resolve this, and I'm sure anyone who is missing rewards will have them on their account soon. If you haven't received your items yet, I'd recommend to just have a little patience and enjoy what access you can get to the game right now. I guarantee they'll make an announcement and put out a hotfix for it as soon as they put out the server fires. I'm hoping they get the issues fixed quickly so that the negativity dies down and people can start to experience the game and decide if they enjoy it by actually playing it. As of today, the 20th of August, there is now a functioning queue which takes anywhere from 30 minutes to 3 hours, depending on the time of day. They're also increasing the server capacity regularly, so the overall size of the queue will go down over time. Now, if they can just implement a held space in the queue for anyone who has been kicked or crashes, I think a lot of people would be much happier, as it's the thing most people complain about. Waiting in a queue for 3 hours, getting in for 5 to 10 minutes, and then getting kicked again to have to wait another 3 hours is such a bad experience. I really think that stopping that from happening should be a priority. I know this has been a long rant, so if you've made it this far, thanks for watching. I thought this was an important topic to cover, and I just wanted to add my 2 cents. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more Wayfinder content, and if you like my videos, why not check out some of my other channels? They're listed in the description and at the top of the dev.arcade homepage. See ya!